universe. 24 hours of music and talk. Radio without limits. That's why people keep coming back for more. That's ubnradio.com.
Hey, everybody, it is Wednesday, June the 17th. I'm Emerson Collins.
And I'm Del Shores.
And you're listening to
The Del and Emerson Show. Straight talk.
Real guy. Woohoo! Hey, Del Shores.
Hello, Emerson Collins.
How you doing?
Well, I just drank a Red Bull, just downed it. I've been to the doctor today. But I'm so devoted to this show that I drug myself in.
Literally drug, like on drugs and dragged.
I'm on a lot of drugs.
You have been dragged and drugged.
Yeah, I have this crazy sinus infection that just infected me. And on Sunday, and last week I had a mild cold, and then it turned into this. And you can probably hear it in my voice. It's not as sexy as it usually is.
Well, you're giving us the straight talk today.
Yes, I'm trying. But I'm trying to focus here. So
yes.
Have you ever had a sinus infection?
Oh my gosh, so many.
Really? This is my first one, and it literally feels like it started off as like, oh, I think I have a toothache, and then I have an eye ache, and then it went into I think I have a brain tumor.
I have a brain tumor because we're not dramatic here at all.
But do you ever do that when you're sick?
Oh my gosh,
just like you
yes.
start getting to the worst case scenario?
Yes, absolutely. Like WebMD is not your friend. As a kid, I had sinus infections so bad. When I was 16, I had my deviated septum corrected. Now, for y'all listening at home, deviated septum is what people call it when they get a nose job and they don't just want to call it a nose job. But mine, they actually only fixed on the inside. They had to clean out a whole sinus. It was nasty.
Oh, I've seen that other nose. That other nose was huge.
I know. Yeah, it was. Took up half my face. Well, Del is not feeling well, so you guys,
I'm really kidding about the nose. Emerson's nose has always been the same.
It's fine. I mean, it is what it is. But since Del is not feeling well, I'm going to do my very best to be nice today. I'm not going to say one time on the whole show, you wrecked my car!
I know, and I did wreck your car, and you're shopping for a new car. And
I am.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about it.
Because they totaled it. They've totaled your car.
They did. They said, nope, you can't drive it anymore. And so on Monday, I went to the Toyota dealership, and I said, this is how much I want to spend, and this is what I want my monthly payments to be. A car to me just gets you from point A to point B. And the lovely lady there said, I have these 3 cars. And I went, nope, that one. Let's drive it. I drove it, and I'm buying it tomorrow morning.
Good for you.
I am buying the only car I drove.
You know what? I want to just a little bit of advice for if you're ever in an accident and your car is totaled by the insurance company. Emerson did something really smart. He did a lot of research online, and he was able to negotiate the payoff a lot more than what they offered. Correct?
Yes. Their job is to pay you what they think the car is worth. So I did a bunch of research on what similar cars to mine were worth, and also kept all of the records of the service and upgrades that I had done to the cars. So that got me a little bit more from them, and they were really great.
So that has nothing to do with being gay. It just
at
has
all,
to
but
do
it's
with
our
being
lives.
Smart.
Look, the title of the show is the Del and Emerson Show. At least the first couple minutes can be about Del and Emerson.
Yes, and since I want to plug that I'm flying with this nasal problem tomorrow to North Carolina. I'm going to be headlining Salisbury, like the steak, North Carolina Pride, and I'm really excited about this because it's the first time that they've had a headliner, and I'll be at the Norvell Club, and that will be on Friday night. So come see me, and then I'm co-hosting all of the day events with somebody.
Yes.
So it's going to be fun.
And
I'm going to be all well. I've got all these mega antibiotics, and everything is fine. So y'all don't worry about me. Just put me on your prayer list.
Oh, right. Yes.
Right after the Dugars.
And Donald Trump. And where do people find out about? Is there information online?
Yeah, just go to my fan page because I made it my cover today.
Perfect.
Where it's so easy. I did
so
it that way.
good
Yeah, that way I just didn't have to really
Facebook.
memorize anything.
Perfect. All right, well, we got a jam-packed show.
Yeah,
so
let's go for it. Equality update.
Kicking it off with our equality update. We talked last week about how in North Carolina, the Senate had overrode Governor Pat McCrory's veto of a new bill that would allow magistrates to refuse to marry any couples if they have a, quote, sincerely held religious objection. Well, this week, the House of Representatives also did it, so that is officially a law, in spite of the fact that their Republican governor knew that it's not in the best interest of the state, the businesses of the state, or the people of the state. The legislature said, we don't care, and we want to do it anyway. And it may actually cost them money because, say, for example, if every magistrate in a given jurisdiction claims this exemption, the state may have to actually spend money to hire new magistrates to do this basic function of issuing marriage licenses.
Because they're required. They're going to be required to give the license in some way.
Yes.
So they have just kind of fucked themselves.
So, good job, North Carolina. Boo.
I'll be there tomorrow, and we'll rail on your.
Oh, yay, good. Gives you
know
material.
what? Yeah, but at least the governor did something, and I have to applaud him for that. I mean, it's kind of like they're looking at Indiana, they're looking at some of these other states, and they're going, okay, we're not going to get into that situation.
Yes,
but it looks like they did anyway.
So, in other equality news, Greece is introducing the possibility of civil unions for the first time in the country's history. They are spearheading legislation to give civil union rights to same-sex couples, including such things as taxation, insurance, inheritance, and other liberties granted to heterosexual Greek couples. Now, the Liberal Party currently has the majority in Parliament, so a decision on the matter is expected to pass smoothly in July. So, it's not full equality, but a civil union, and it's the first time Greece has considered it, so it's definitely a step of progress.
All right.
And in negative news, Michigan State Senate just passed 3 bills that would allow adoption agencies to refuse adoptions if the religious beliefs of those seeking to adopt or become foster parents were not in line with the agencies. And now it goes to Governor Rick Snyder's for signature or veto. So Rick Snyder, hopefully he'll follow in the steps of Pat McCrory in North Carolina and say this isn't in the best interest of our state.
But let's break this down just a little bit, because the one thing about the North Carolina and this, if say an adoption agency or say one of these magistrates decided that their religious beliefs were not, that we cannot perform a marriage between a black and a Hispanic person, or a black and or whatever, they could do that. That could apply to that too, not just gay marriage, right?
Right.
So
I mean, it continues to roll downhill.
They just claim religion.
And it was very interesting that this happened. A good friend of our show, he's been on, and he has a show here on UBN Radio actually at noon on Wednesdays. Alec Mappa did a stand-up comedy special called Baby Daddy that we saw at Outfest a year and a half ago, and it premiered on Showtime on Friday night. It's a huge deal, a huge excitement for him. He's a genius comedian, and the big theme of the piece is that he and his husband adopted out of foster care their son, Zion. And so he talks in his trademark genius comedy about the hilarious ways that people react to the fact that his husband's white, he's Filipino, and his son...
Filipino?
That's the way he says it. Yeah, Filipino. And his son is black. And people often ask things like, did you get, where in Africa is he from? And he said, we adopted him from Compton. There are black children in America that need great homes too. And it's such a beautiful message in this piece that's getting out there as a result of his incredible talent. But it ties right into this. There are so many kids in the adoption that need adoption or that are in the foster care system looking for homes. And you have a state like Michigan saying, well, we're more concerned with making sure that LGBT people aren't the parents than we are with finding wonderful, loving homes for these kids.
It's just appalling. And I by the way, that I loved that documentary so much because I love the way they wove. Would it be wove?
Sure.
Weaved or
wove
their lives, and then his stand up reflected that. It's so good.
So if you haven't seen it, it's streaming on Showtune. It's Showtune.
You are so
I'm
gay.
such a musical theater queen. It's available. It's airing tons and tons of times on Showtime, but also they've just now made the DVD available online. So search for Baby Daddy by Alec Mappa and check it out. It's genius, and you will not be sorry that you watched it.
All right, what else?
And moving on in equality, a trans student in Virginia, we talked about the things that have been happening in Virginia where the largest school district approved allowing trans students to use the correct bathroom for their gender. Well, Gavin Grimm is a trans male student at the Synod debate in Virginia, and the Gloucester County School Board voted 6-1 that he could not use the boys' bathroom, even though he'd been doing so for 7 weeks without incident at his high school before parents started complaining. Well, now he's filed a lawsuit from the ACLU, arguing that he has a constitutional right to use the boys' restroom under Title IX of the Education Act, which is really important because Title IX grants a lot of federal funding to school districts, and the Obama administration has supported that the trans students have a right under this. So this is a big lawsuit that could establish national precedent for trans students using the appropriate bathrooms in schooling. But it's just huge applause to Gavin Grimm, who's just
16.
a high school student who just wants to go to school, that's willing to put himself out there and be the face of this on behalf of many other trans students. So hats off to you, Gavin.
Awesome.
And then quickly, this was just for me because I went to high school in Singapore where being gay is still actually illegal. There is an event every year that they call Pink Dot Day. It's an event for LGBT rights. This year they had 9 corporate sponsors and almost 30,000 people attend. And I love it because they all wear pink shirts and then they all smash together at the end of the evening and it makes a giant pink dot, like on the island of Singapore. So they've been doing it for 7 years and they're fighting hard there. And I just love
I think
that.
you need to go back to a reunion and join that.
Well, funny enough, my brother's going there this week. Just random, not
Just to
related
visit?
at all. Yeah. I hadn't been back since high school. All right, flashing on.
All right,
Are
well-
we proud of Pride?
Yeah, well, you know, as I said, I woke up on LA Pride excited. I said, I'm finally in town because I always go and play Prides, and I was finally in town for LA Pride, and I woke up with this horrible sinus infection and was in urgent care and watching Orange is the New Black all day long. So, but I saw pictures of you, and you seem to be having a good time.
I did. I love it. I go every year. If I'm free and in town, on Saturday afternoon, I went to the festival for a while because I love walking around and seeing all the people smash together. I watched the first couple of songs from Wilson Phillips, which was cute.
Well,
and
how
then,
big is Corny? Is she?
I don't care about that the way you do.
I just always like that's just, how big is she? Did it? You know, you never know. You never know.
I love that that's your question. But then on Saturday morning, I got up and all of the parade floats are parked near my apartment. So I wandered the parade before it actually happened and then watched it from the rooftop of Pally House. And my favorite thing of the
Shirtless.
whole parade, no, not during the parade.
No,
No.
but that we have that picture of him. He looks pretty good. With
And
him,
then,
Blake MacGyver and Willem.
I'm gonna get to that part of the story, but we're just not there in the day yet. The best part of the
I
parade.
thought he was going to be nice.
That was nice. That was the nice version. Say, you want to tell this story or me would be the mean version. The best part of the parade was the Magic Mike XXL float. Channing Tatum and Matt Bomer both showed up and rode on the float through the parade. I mean, they are more famous than like most of the grand marshals of the LA Pride Parade in the last like 10 years.
There were a
And
million
they
pictures.
Showed up and danced, and the rumor has it that Channing Tatum split his pants. Now, I was not close enough to see that. They had motorcycle cops, which I feel like is appropriate and necessary.
Right.
Because we might not be able to control ourselves. But there was other great things. Like there was a huge float for Transparent for the series with a bunch of the writers and the crew, and then a big Bi Pride section. So I just really love the parade. And yes, and then after that, I went to a rooftop party hosted by Willem. And my favorite thing about Willem, ADD attention fan of the fruit fly that he is, Blake and I were wandering around the party with him, and Blake at one point said one of the funniest things I can recall in quite some time about Willem. He said, "You know who we are, right? We're like the character hosts at Disneyland that have to stand beside Mickey Mouse and tell the kids, like, don't touch, don't push, don't pull." Because that's totally what it was like. It was like being the hostess of, like, pushing him through the crowd.
But he does it well. I think he
he does.
He handles his fans very, very well.
Well,
And
also, I mean, let's be honest. Willem made one of the smartest decisions forever ago when he decided that his drag queen persona wasn't the nicest person.
Right.
Because when he gets bored in a conversation, he can just go, "Okay, bye," and walk off. And people think it's hilarious. And they're like, "Willem was mean to me, and I'm so happy." Those drag queens that have nice personas, if they do that, people are like, "Well, I thought she was so nice, and she was so rude to me."
yeah.
People
And-
think it's hilarious
well,
when Willem is
witnessed-
mean to them.
When we were in Louisiana last year at the film festival, I remember somebody got upset at him and said, "You know, you were rude to me." And he goes, "Look, I'm a dude in a dress," you know,
Playing a character.
playing a character.
Don't let it ruin your life. All right, but there were other prides that have been happening around the country.
Yeah, we've got Mormons at Pride in Utah. The Utah Pride Festival in Salt Lake City was full of Mormons fighting for LGBT equality, one of the largest groups at Pride, which I love this.
Mm-hmm.
Many from Mormons building bridges and Mormons for Equality, celebrating marriage equality in Utah and passage of law protecting LGBT
Utahans.
Is that how you say that? Utahans? It sounds like a very Texas. Utahans from discrimination. And then this is my favorite story of the day because it involves friends of mine. Ross Matthews married a couple of friends of ours. You know them
Yes.
as well. George Carancho, who was so instrumental in having American Airlines sponsor Sordid Lives, the series. We adore him. He's actually an extra in if you look really close. And Sean Franklin, his beautiful husband, and you're beautiful too, George. I know y'all are listening because I tweeted you. They were married during the Pride Parade, and it was the Marriott float hosted it, and Marriott got their signage in every single picture.
As
with
they
those.
should.
And it's just some great. Go to George Carancho's or Sean's Facebook page, and you'll see all of them. Or just Google it. It's really great pictures, and we've got one right here. So congratulations, guys!
I love
We're
that.
so happy for you. And
two great men that have done so much work for our community, both
Absolutely.
in business and personally. Getting to celebrate their wedding in the middle of a pride parade is just perfect and
I
fantastic.
love it. And they've been together for a really, really long time. So to make this decision, and I think George proposed to Sean in London or somewhere romantic. I don't know. I try to keep up. Is that what it was? Oh, okay, good. All right. Well, and moving on, we've got Laverne Cox in Pride Month on the Entertainment Weekly cover. She's Lady Liberty. 50 gay TV and movie characters we love most, and an interview just by
Billy Eichner?
Yeah,
Is that where you're on?
I've lost my place.
Yes, and an interview
Finish it.
And an interview with Billy Eichner, Andrew Reynolds,
there
and
we
Jonathan Groff.
Okay.
So just a great Pride celebration from Entertainment Weekly, starring Laverne Cox.
Yeah, and that's a great picture of her. I loved her, and I've been obsessed because of my illness with the new season of Orange Is the New Black.
How are you liking it so far?
You know what? It started off slow for me. It really did. I'll be honest.
Well, where are you first?
I am in episode 8.
Okay.
8 or 9, I think.
No spoilers.
No spoilers. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it's more of a it's more like a soft and fuzzy Orange Is the New Black. I think some things are about to happen. It's not as edgy as it was, so I'm missing that just a little bit. But there are some great new characters, and there is a storyline that had me laughing so hard I almost burst through my sinus.
Well, be
So-
careful.
So you've only watched the pilot, right?
No, I've watched the first 3. I know, but I think part of that, when people, it's not as edgy, but part of it's also like part of the edge was like nothing like this had been,
Right.
was on, now we know them and we know these people. So, I think that's part of good storytelling is also like, it doesn't have to be like a prison riot every week. Like part
Well-
of the exploring the people and the characters and like where they are, sometimes like the drudgery of like they in prison.
Yeah, I just kind of miss the conflict between the groups that they had last season that ended in that amazing season finale. So, but Natasha, she's out after. I mean, oh God, no spoilers.
The but it's like so they did the big like race.
Well, maybe I don't know. Maybe she's coming back.
They did the big race conflict, but so it's like, but you have to tell other stories. Like it's sort of the way I always find it interesting. It's like I don't know. I don't think any series can continue to be like as shocking and surprising and interesting as they are when you first introduce them.
Look, I will watch it till it is over because I love these characters. I am obsessed with these characters. I care about these characters.
Well, and for me, it always goes back to that all of the women are absolutely brilliant, but I think Taylor Schilling is a genius. Like, I think to sit at the center of that show and be so unlikable and so self-serving and like to commit to that, and the way she rides it up and down with all of the crazy people around her, it's like she plays the straight man for all these giant personalities. I just love it. I think they're all wonderful, and I want it to run forever.
I do have to say this: if there's any controversy about, and I don't know that they're going to continue to be in the comedy category, but they should be because this season is the funniest season that I've seen.
Oh, good.
So,
I just got a text message from Georgie. Said yes, we were listening. Very sweet. Got engaged in Manchester Pride. So they got engaged at a Pride and got married at a Pride.
So I said I was in the wrong city. But yeah, how great.
And really quickly, I just want to recommend for those of you interested in good LGBT programming, Netflix has another new series called Sense8 about 7 people with some sort of telepathic connection. It's from the Wachowskis, one of whom is trans. And in it features a lesbian couple, one of whom is trans, played by a trans actress, and it also has a very big comedic gay storyline as well. So they are serving our community well, and they're in Netflix programming. So you should check it out. If you're it's sort of sci-fi-y, so that's my caveat. If that's not your thing, you might not love it, but at least give the pilot a whirl. Because
is it out already?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Because there's a moment like after the lesbian sex scene that sort of made my jaw drop. That was fascinatingly. So we say graphic for television. All right.
Yeah, all right.
Flashing on. Well, unless you've been under a rock, you've heard the story of the last week of Rachel Dolezal, the head of a branch of the NAACP in Spokane, Washington, who also works as an Africana Studies professor, who has been outed by her parents as white. although she claims to be black. That there's a lot of conversation about this story, and the specifically race-related things we will leave to people of color who have a vested interest in this conversation to deal with all of the implications of appropriating culture and her goal of being an ally, but then taking on that identity and racial construct. Like we're not going to fall all the way down that rabbit hole because lots of very smart, educated people are doing it. But the piece that really relates to LGBT news is that it caused a number of people to say things like this. A Fox News psychiatrist contributor, Keith Abloh, has blamed transgender people for this situation. He said, "I've been saying for a long time that we could find ourselves at this moment. I'm not judging folks who put forward a transgender position, Caitlyn Jenner and the rest, but I did note that when you decide that a genetic reality is not reality, if this woman believes to her core that her identity is that of a black woman, one could argue that she should be accepted according to her, quote, racial identity. I think we're headed down an untested path where people's self-concept is going to dictate the way we behave towards them." And so the liberal element in this country is very much in this trans race moment or trans age. Don't be surprised if some child says, "I was born Caucasian and black," and if you see them being tattooed, "I told you so." Excuse me. So to me, that aspect of this is that a lot of people have used her saying, though she is obviously and historically white, and in interviews yesterday, she went so far as to say, well, I can't even guarantee that my parents are my biological parents. The NBC News broadcaster said, well, their names are on your birth certificate. And she said, well, there's no medical people there to verify that. So she's going down a crazy oriented path. And a lot of people have used that to push that off to say it's the same thing as people that are actually transgender. And that's a big part of the damage of this argument as well, outside of the racial issues. And I think that's sort of horrifying, people that want to use her to diminish and devalue the experience and existence of transgender people.
Right. Well, it seems like that I was just as we were walking into the studio, I was noticing that NAACP is actually standing behind her, though. Is that right?
I don't know. Is that what you saw?
That's what it said. That there were many leaders who they were just really applauding what she had done for the organization, and said you can't take that away just because of this controversy.
Well, that's true, but a lot of the issues that a lot of African Americans have is with white people centering themselves in conversations about race, which is literally what she did, centered herself in a discussion. I mean, she went to Howard University. She was a white student. She sued them for discrimination against her for being white, and now she says she's black. And we have to be really honest and admit that the experience of being black in our culture comes with a lot of the way you are treated, the way that people behave around you, the opportunities you're afforded because of the visibility. And so, that, you can say it all day long. That doesn't mean your experience is the same as African Americans. And if you want to be a great ally, you can do that
without lying.
Yes, without basing it in a falsehood.
Let's just go to that. It's just a blatant lie.
And she's using these cutesy academic arguments about race being a construct that's not a real thing. We're all genetically the same. That's fine, but it ignores the reality of that my experience as a white person in America is fundamentally different than the experience of a black person. And if she was raised and grew up and socialized as a white person until she was an adult, she cannot relate the same way.
No, just because she added dreadlocks and I mean, you should see the 3 pictures that I pulled. If they're in the room right now, it's crazy. It's really kind of psychotic in my opinion. I mean, maybe I'm going too far.
Well, I mean, I think I get that she loves it, and she, and she said that she's loved it since a child, and that's great. And I can love straight people, but it doesn't make me straight. It's like our straight allies don't have to say that they're gay in order to benefit and work for us and hold important positions in fighting for LGBT rights. There are people like that. She could have done all of those same things. The work shouldn't change, right?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
To me the base. All right, flashing on.
Yes. More Caitlyn Jenner news. A North Carolina gay man, Jason Hatfield, got the Caitlyn Jenner Vanity Fair cover tattooed on his arm. He said, as a gay man in the South, he knows what it's like to pretend to be somebody else. My tribute to the trans community and the LGBT community and my personal friends, but also her bravery as well. So, interesting.
I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a commitment.
That is a commitment. And
I hope there's not a copyright issue.
Oh, goodness. Well, if there is, I'm in trouble with.
Do you need to license that image?
I've got the HRC.
I feel like Annie Leibovitz and Vanity. I mean, I'm sure they're not coming after him. I'm just saying. Now, think about these things.
Well, you think
Can you
about
imagine him getting sued?
Well, you think about Disney is so litigious with their
Everything.
and I always see Mickey Mouse and I think Disney's so litigious they just may come cut that off your arm.
Be like, I'm sorry, you got to pay us for the right to have that on your arm. No, but that's awesome and good for him, and what a great way to show support.
And then we've got a Christian couple in Australia saying that they're going to divorce over the same-sex marriage issue.
Bless their hearts.
Nick Jensen and his wife Sarah have been married for 10 years, and this I can't do the accent, so I'm not even going to try. I'm too sick. As Christians, we believe marriage is not a human invention. Our view is that marriage is a fundamental order of creation, part of God's intimate story for human history. My wife and I, as a matter of conscience, refuse to recognize the government's regulation of marriage if its definition includes the solemnization of same-sex couples. By changing the definition of marriage will, in years to come, have an altogether different sense and purpose. We no longer wish to be associated with this new definition. All right, well, fuck you. I don't even give a shit.
I mean, what a ridiculous cry for like weird publicity.
Let
for
them
like
divorce.
I'm like, I'm pretty sure that you're not supposed to do that too. Like, isn't that
right.
in the rule book somewhere?
That's anti-Bible. There's a few.
Well, there have been
two
two
scriptures.
Fantastic follow-ups to this that I love. Annie Hagar and her fiance have known this couple for 10 years and attended their original wedding. They are getting married, and they just uninvited them to their wedding. They just said, it's so ridiculous. That my fiance and I have decided the best thing to do is to make sure Nick understands how little he and his twisted worldview matters. She also pointed out that in Australia, to get a divorce, you have to be separated for 12 months. And they keep saying that they're planning to like still call each other husband and wife and like still be together. And she's like, I don't even think legally they're going to let them have this publicity divorce. And then I love this. A Facebook event page was created to invite people to celebrate their impending divorce. The person who created it said, I invite everyone who supports marriage equality to come celebrate the divorce of Nick and Sarah Jensen. Date and location to be announced, but hopefully in the not too distant future. They have over 166,000 members wanting to attend.
I'm joining as soon as we get off the air. I'm gonna go. I just like these people. I mean, it's good stories for our show, but
how
Jesus,
stupid
it's
are
just
you?
Like really, really stupid. Okay, now we have American Airlines had some tweet war with the Southern Baptists, which I really love. This Nathan Lorick, the director of evangelism for the Southern Baptists of Texas Convention, tweeted at an American airline this weekend. He was on a flight and he says, I'm flying on American Air without a delay is highly unlikely, always delayed. That's not true. I fly American all the time, and they're not always delayed.
So you're going to...
Wait. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yes.
So
now we're going to do this as performance art. Dale will play Nathan Lorick, director of evangelism, because it fits his character types, and I will be playing the role of the helpful American Airlines.
And we're assuming he is from the South, right?
Yes.
Okay, well, I'm going to put on this. Flying on at American Air without a delay is highly unlikely. It's always delayed. One reason I have not flown with them nearly as much this year.
We're sorry for the delay, Nathan. We see that you are on your way and will have you home shortly.
What's the deal with the rainbow-colored image?
June is Pride Month across the globe, and we are proud to support the LGBT community and its allies.
Seems like a poor choice from a company that certainly has many customers who do not agree with that lifestyle. Hashtag disappointed.
Oh, we're sorry for your disappointment. I added the all.
I love that he knew how to hashtag.
Hashtag disappointed.
Oh my God, I love that.
Well, we love American Airlines. They were an enormous part of helping make Sordid Lives a series successful, as they were a huge sponsor of that, and we're hoping to hit them up for a very sordid
I was going to
wedding.
say, hey, American Airlines, if you're listening, we are going to hit you up to sponsor a very sordid wedding. We need some tickets. George Carancho's not there anymore, so we need someone to step in and help us. George, do you know people? Help us.
But separate from that, even while George was there, and American Airlines has done a great job of being supportive of the LGBT community, and that was just a great representation of that on Twitter.
And I have over 1 million miles on American Airlines. I'm a very faithful. I'm flying tomorrow, American. All right. Is this my story? Okay, yeah. Utah gay bashing. Rick Jones in Delta, Utah alleges he was robbed, had fagged carved into his arm with a knife, and was forced to drink bleach in late April. 5 days later, the word "die fag" were spray painted on his and his family's house. And this week, a Molotov cocktail was thrown through his window, and his house was spray painted again, this time with "You'll die, burn fag." Jones was home and was able to put out the flames before there was too much damage. His restaurant, the Grand Central Pizzeria and Grill, has also been hit with burglary, theft, and vandalism that same morning. There are no suspects, and he and his family and the pizzeria are very popular in town. Millard County Sheriff's Office is appealing to the community to help find the perpetrators. There is a reward available to anyone providing information that leads to the arrest and conviction of the perpetrators of these crimes. Also, we would like to encourage all citizens to report any suspicious persons or circumstances to the Sheriff's Office dispatch immediately. So the Gay and Utah Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce announced that they are offering a $5,000 reward for new information leading to the successful apprehension and prosecution of these perpetrators. So if you're in Utah and you know anything, do something.
Well, and this, to Rick and his family, sending support, apparently they're very popular in town, but I feel like this story is important because we talk a lot about equality and we talk a lot about how we're treated by the legal system, but, particularly trans people still very much end up physically in danger, and there are lots of places where there are people who live openly gay that are actually still in physical danger because they live in environments where there are people raised with bigoted beliefs who think that violence is an acceptable response to who we are as people. So as much as we talk about the legal system, it's important that we continue to fight to change the perception and culture, because literally it made my skin crawl. They carved "die fag" into his arm. This isn't even just "we beat you up." Like, the degree of being a sociopath and hating someone to take the time to do that, that's not a heat of the moment fight thing. It happened after he was knocked out. So there are so many places.
It feels so personal, doesn't it? It feels
does.
like there's a part of me that feels like, armchair detective here, that these people know him. That there's
it's a town of 3,500 people, so it's,
yeah.
Probable.
Someone you went to high school with or something. It wouldn't be surprising to me.
Or some meth head cooking out in the middle of, nowhere.
So, and here's a story that Emerson is dying to do.
I am. Well, I have a medium-sized soapbox about this. Last week, Mike Huckabee, bless his heart, posted on his Facebook page this message. He said, "Today, U.S. Secretary of Defense Ash Carter held a Pentagon ceremony to celebrate Gay Pride Month for our military. Yesterday in Europe, President Obama admitted that we have no complete strategy to stop the ISIS death squads from swelling across the Middle East. The fact that President Obama invests more in strategies to celebrate LGBT Pride Month than military strategies to defeat radical Islam proves this administration has a massive mind-numbing prioritization problem." Okay, first of all, let's not get even into Mike Huckabee is not a fan of ours. He doesn't support our community or our rights. Leaving that to the side, one, it's blatantly, patronizingly, intellectually insulting. I guarantee you, if you count up the man-hours that are spent in our military and in our government figuring out what to do about ISIS and in the Middle East and how to support our regional partners there and how to deal with that situation, and the amount of time that was spent planning a single press conference for the Secretary of Defense to announce Pride celebration for our military, I'm being generous to say that it's maybe 1% of the same. I feel like that's generous. But this also gets to a further, this is a kind of trolling that makes my brain bleed. It happens on my Facebook page, too, where I post about something silly, like, "Oh, look at this, bacon-wrapped grilled cheese sandwiches," and underneath somebody writes, "Why are we worrying about this when people are getting killed in the Middle East?" First of all, as grown-up human beings, we're capable of thinking about more than one thing at a time and throughout the day. So some of us eat. We're not working when we're eating. We're not working when we're sleeping. We're not working when we're going to the bathroom. And we can be passionate about multiple issues through the day, and it doesn't mean that we're passionate about all of them the same.
Or less passionate about something that we're very passionate about, like equality. It doesn't diminish that if we decide to have a sense of humor in the middle of the day.
And we certainly expect, if we as people can do that, for our government to be able to do that.
Right.
They employ thousands and thousands and thousands of people. So I'm sure there were still some people working on and worrying about ISIS while this press conference was happening. But people say they do. When I post about marriage equality, I had somebody the other day said, "Well, while you're worrying about this pastor attending a gay pride, 37 babies were beheaded by ISIS." And I said, well, if you're going to pick one issue to be passionate about, that really is a great one. But don't come for me because I care about more than one thing.
And go write that on your own fucking page. I get so tired of people using my page for their platform. I mean, I do love a good debate. I love a good spirited, intelligent and respectful exchange. But I don't like it when someone does that and just makes, because what is that? It's, I want to make you feel less than. That's what it is.
Well, also, my response has become, isn't it a waste of your time to tell me that I'm wasting my time, and then didn't we just both waste most of our times, and we weren't worrying about that thing that you're so worried about because you came over here to tell me that I should be worried about it?
Well, it's like, these so-called Christians that come to my page and they rant and rant and rant, and I just quote, "Hey, feed the poor. You sitting on Facebook all day long. Go do something Christian. Besides, this is not Christian. This is hateful."
Yeah.
Don't get me started.
Don't get me started.
I'm just sick enough to go off.
Well, it just makes me laugh. I'm like, well, it's my page, and I'm going to talk about what I want. But I just think it's the most trolliest of comments to be like, this doesn't matter. I'm like, then just move on. Don't read it.
And by the way, I want to go back to, you said Mike Huckabee, bless his heart. Caroline Ray, our good friend, she says that Southern people, when they say bless his heart, that basically means fuck you.
That is one of the two options, yes. All right, let's skip this next one. That's a lot.
It's a lot.
Go ahead.
We'll save it. Okay, Pope Francis is going to hold his first meeting with a married gay activist. So this is some positive forward movement in the Catholic Church. He is slated to hold his first public meeting with a married gay activist during a visit to Paraguay in July, or Paraguay. Activist Simón Cazel is the executive director of Paraguayan LGBT rights group Somos Gay, who married Sergio Lopez in Argentina. See, my Spanish degree is coming.
So great.
It's coming in handy.
So great.
This meeting marks the first time he will publicly meet with an LGBT political activist. Cazel received an invitation from the Committee of Paraguayan Bishops Conference to participate in a roundtable with the Pope and civil society leaders. So this is really quite wonderful.
Well, and it's important because Paraguay is one of the few South American countries with no protections for LGBT people. So obviously, like, it doesn't change what the Pope is saying and what the Church is doing, but like continuing to meet with our leaders provides legitimacy to these activists in these countries as they continue to fight. So it's great for them to have the visibility of being able to say they were a part of this, and I'm sure we'll give them ammunition to continue to fight in Paraguay for LGBT people.
Look, he's done more than any other pope. Come on. I mean, he's not going to solve all of this in one, but there is some forward movement, and we have to celebrate that.
Flashing on. So this is an interesting story. In Maryland, a DJ turned down a gay birthday party. A woman and her brother tried to hire a DJ for their 60-year-old gay roommate's birthday. Michael Imperis is the co-owner of Ultrasound DJs. He's also a disc jockey. Told them he would not provide the music because their brother is married to a man and their roommate is also gay. We won't be able to do it. We're a Christian organization and it would go against our faith. I'm sorry. Now, here's where I find this one a little interesting, and I wanted to have it for our conversation. Their website says, we will not play music that is vulgar or profane or engage in any lewd displays of entertaining. And then the list included things like, we will not play music that contains profanity or vulgarity or support a new teen dance style called freaking. First of all, it's not that new. We will not participate in provocative dancing or actions or with strippers or be involved in any event with strippers or any event with fortune tellers, psychics, or magicians or any event that celebrates Halloween or any event involving homosexual celebration or activity. We follow biblical morality. We do not work on Sundays. Here's where I find this a little interesting. One, it's still bigoted, and he probably broke the law in Maryland, and that's an issue, and the law is what it is. But what I find for me...
Why would you choose them?
Well, that's sort of what I appreciate in this situation is this. I don't agree with this point of view, but this at least seems consistent. It doesn't seem to just be singling out the sin of homosexuality. It's like they're trying to host parties where everything at the party is as Christian as possible. To me, it's the difference between, because we talked about like with the bakers and the flower people who don't want to celebrate same-sex weddings, but I don't think they make sure that the people aren't divorced or that they haven't committed adultery or that they don't live together. That's singling out LGBT people. This seems at least to be a consistent concept of like any kind of sin that could be happening at a music.
Not that we're sinners, guys. I'm not saying that.
At a music party. Now, I'm not saying it's right, but this at least seems less hypocritical to me.
It does to me too.
Than other situations. And this is where I get a little bit like Patrick Stewart got in trouble for talking about a cake that was made in the UK where they didn't want to write a pro-gay message on a cake, and he said, I think it's different when you're talking about the words. I do sort of understand the concept of this isn't making flowers and people picking them up for the wedding, or a cake and picking them up for the wedding. This is you actually being a part of facilitating the party for someone. And this is where I sort of get where if people say we would prefer not to serve any of these kind of events, I'm not saying it's legal or right, but at least that sort of makes more sense to me than some of the other situations.
It is very clear, but I want to go back to why did they? It makes me wonder if they were wanting to pick a little bit of a fight, because why would they want to hire somebody for this party if it says we will not be involved in any event involving homosexual celebration or activity, and they disclosed that they were gay?
It's also.
You know?
Well, who knows how, I mean, if they got it as a phone number and a recommendation of a friend. I just checked out the website because I was curious. But this is like, growing up, my church, we didn't do a Halloween festival. We did a fall festival that was Halloween, but you couldn't dress up as witches. I mean, this is like seriously like we are a Christian business as opposed to like we provide services to Christian
That
functions.
music would suck. That's all I'm saying.
I will say that my one caveat is they do bar and bat mitzvahs. So I was like, no, that's not so
And I
Christian.
didn't see anything that we will not do any second marriages.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's move on. In more Catholic news, Antiequality pamphlet by Catholics is being distributed to children. This is a 17-page booklet called "Don't Mess with Marriage." It's been being distributed by Australian Catholic Bishops' Conference and Australian Catholic schools, warning against extending marriage rights to the same-sex couples. ACBA said marriage equality would make marriage about intensity of emotion rather than a union founded on a sexual complement. God, I'm in such a bad shape today, guys. I'm sorry. Complementary and potential fertility. It's a lot of words. Basically, I mean, in reading this, here's what it is Catholic.
They are Catholic schools.
They are Catholic schools,
Yeah.
and this is their belief system. So if you don't want... we've talked about this before. I sent my children to Catholic school for the education, and it was a really, really great high school. But I knew that they were going to hear things that were going to be anti-gay in those religion. And what did my kids do? They challenged them.
Yeah.
The kids challenged them.
Well,
Carrie Shores and Rebecca Shores challenged those classes.
Well, and a girl did just that. A 16-year-old student named Georgia Simpson started a petition saying that the message contained in the Don't Mess with Marriage booklet are humiliating and degrading, and it forces damaging traditional gender roles through the concept of masculinity and femininity. And on Monday, it had over 8,000 signatures, and literally when I read this, I thought of your daughter Carrie, like doing the same thing in her religion classes. So, I mean, they are Catholic schools, and they get to say what they want to say related to their religious beliefs, but this continues the tradition of agitating from inside. Like, just because you're a student and that's their beliefs, you don't have to sit back and take it. So good on you, Georgia.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes I think this is not a bad thing when things like this happen, because it does challenge the youth, and it does have someone come out. 8,000 signatures? I mean, that's amazing.
Well, in other related high school news, just two really quickly. There have been two great high school senior yearbook quotes that have made the rounds. A new one last week. Maxwell Barrett's an 18-year-old senior in New Jersey, and his senior yearbook photo was him in a tux, and the quote underneath said, "Of course I dress well. I didn't spend all that time in the closet for nothing," which I love.
I did. And then he said unknown.
And then, well, I mean, because lots of people have said it. And then Caitlyn Cannon was a lesbian who a couple of weeks ago, hers made the rounds, and she said, "I need feminism because I intend on marrying rich, and I can't do that if my wife and I are making 75 cents for every dollar a man makes."
Yay.
So good for you, high school kids. All right, flashing on.
All right, we've got, I cannot go. I cannot go to Seoul. Gay saunas in Seoul ban old, unattractive foreigners.
Yeah, but get to the part about how old you have to be to qualify as old in this scenario.
Do we even have to? It says, okay, so they got in trouble because they rejected an American, and he claimed it was discrimination based on race because they said, because there were other races like Koreans there, and he thought that it was because of his race, but they said, no, it's not. It's because you're not hot. You're just not hot. You cannot enter here if you are fat or 45 years or older. I'm out, guys. I'm gone. We allow young and slim white customers, but try to prohibit all Southeast Asians because we get complaints from other customers. So,
I love it. Well, it's apparently like all of the saunas there do it. Another one said, "We need to make the majority of our customers happy to stay in business. It is very hard to satisfy all. Some young men even complain that we don't have enough old men." So, first of all, there's no pleasing gay people.
No.
Is at the root of this.
Because we all have very different types.
But this is ageist and racist and fat shaming and size. I'm like, literally, 40, and they're calling 45 old. Like, that's insane.
45.
I mean, isn't 45 the new 25, and isn't 25 the new 12? Like,
it used to be so old when I was a teenager, when I would look at my parents, but it is so not old anymore.
It's genuinely horrifying. We talked about it before. It relates to that Impulse story we did in Florida. I mean, all organizations, all bars, all clubs want young and attractive people. That's the nature of our society with our youth and beauty worship. But like, this is specific and extreme. Like, do it the other way around. Make it free. There are places that make it free if you're under 25 or 30. Like, give benefits rather than excluding people.
Well, that's what
seems like
Impulse
a better way to
did,
do it.
though, and they got in trouble.
Well, but the difference between $0 and $50 is a lot. Like,
okay,
you know. All right, checking in with Crazy.
Well, this is once again this pastor Stephen Anderson of the Faithful World Baptist Church in Arizona. He's the one who predicted the AIDS-free Christmas, and if we could just put all LGBTs to death. Now he's taken on Caitlyn Jenner. Now I would like to perform this, and
please do.
I watched his YouTube, and he's got sort of a high-pitched kind of thing that my gaydar went off a little bit this time and watched. He said, "This filthy sodomite picture is everywhere. I never ever heard of him until last week." How could he have not heard? Okay, Bruce Jenner has basically mutilated his body, apparently, and he's being praised by our president. Our President Obama is praising him or praising her. We don't even know what it is. I think that he used the female pronoun about someone named Bruce. Our president is praising the wicked here. This filthy pervert is everywhere. Literally hundreds of millions of people are being forced to look at a trans freak. This person is just the evangelist of sodomy and filth to the world, and people are like, oh, we need to pray for him so that he finds Jesus. I'm going to pray that he dies and goes to hell. I have nothing but hate. The kids in America today, we're having their minds perverted and ruined permanently. Listen to me. I hate him with a perfect hatred. I have no love for this Bruce freak. He goes on and on. You can look at it it just goes on, and I think we can just.
Well, you got to get to the end.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Where did I hope he dies today. I hope he dies and goes to hell. He's disgusting. He's filthy. He's reprobate. You evil, filthy animal that's destroying the morals of our country. Die. I hate these filthy sons of Bethiel. They're disgusting and sick. That guy will never find Jesus. The Bible says he's reprobate. The Bible explains why people would lust after another man when you're a man, because they're reprobate. He loves that word. Nobody who defends that freak is welcome in this church. Okay? I love Christians. I love unsafe people. As long as they're not reprobates, they should be stoned with stones. I hope God touches Bruce Jenner's heart like this. I pray that his heart would explode right now. Filthy, disgusting.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that God doesn't usually answer prayers like that.
This is, I don't even know how people
I have questions.
How do they go to this church? And there's, I mean, you look at this YouTube, people going, amen, amen, oh yeah, I
have questions. First of all, what is a perfect hatred? Because that's something I would like to aspire to in a couple of cases. And second, they should be stoned with stones.
I love that too.
As opposed to being stoned with not stones.
Paper mache. That looks like stones.
I mean, he's crazy. And, y'all, we laugh about this stuff, but part of the reason we talk about it is it's people like this preaching because the audience was saying amen right along with him, and that's the environment that creates people that do things like the gay bashing in Utah where you carve dye fag into someone's arm. That comes out of people hearing this kind of message.
And not only that, there are probably gay children sitting in that pew like we were in those churches, and we didn't hear it to this degree, but you learn to hate yourself. So yeah, we do this kind of as comedy, but honestly, it's just tragic that this is still exists, and we have to continue to fight against this hatred.
And continuing with crazy, a conservative caller called into the Friday edition of Washington Watch, Craig James of the Family Research Council show, talking about the New Jersey ex-gay therapy case that we're watching. One caller told James this: the whole homosexual movement is really like a religion, and the religion is sex, and they worship their own genitals.
Amen.
I gotta be honest, I kind of do. I mean, he's not wrong.
Not far off for some of us.
I have in my life worshipped genitals. I have looked at them and said, yes, God, amen, yes, God.
And
so, I mean,
in the words of Lavonda, guilty.
So I mean, I just feel like, I mean, he meant it as a bad thing, but I feel like it's honest. But let's be real, straight people do the same thing. I have heard ladies talk about penises before where they said it was just beautiful.
Yes, and
So-
men just lapping down there,
Just going to town.
worshiping
at the Church of Cunnilingus. So I mean, I just don't feel like that we're special in that category. So James, the host went on to say that there is an agenda, and the agenda is to shut down anyone who opposes homosexuality. Yes, sir.
That'd be
yes,
nice.
That is
That would
exactly
be
right.
nice.
You have named us well. And finally, what's gay in sports ball? Two quick stories. One. A Norwegian football player was given a red card. Now, I had to look this up. Apparently, that means that he was ejected from the game. You're welcome. So he received a red card, and I was like, "What's kind of pretty? I would want a red one." Apparently,
Wanted
yellow.
a pink one.
A yellow one isn't as bad, but I would want the red one because I like red better than yellow, and it would just be very confusing. Anyway, he was red carded out of the game for referring to another opponent as gay in a derogatory manner.
Good.
The head referee said, using the word in an insulting or offensive manner would lead to a sending off. We told our referees they hear it clearly. There is no doubt about what's been said, that it should be punished with a red card. I love that because words matter, and even said in the heat of the moment. And finally, Sweden now has an all-gay national handball team. I gotta be honest, those boys have an advantage. They have handled a lot of balls. Even the more prudish ones have probably handled more balls than the boys on all those other teams. So I wish them good luck.
Well, and that's our show today,
That is.
guys. We want to thank you all. We just got our ratings today, and we went over 100,000 listeners last month. We went 110,000 listeners in 1 month, and that's because you are listening to us. We don't know why, but we sure thank you.
And we do really appreciate it. You guys, we love doing this, but we love hearing what you think. And, of course, you can share your thoughts on our Facebook page or our individual Facebook pages, or you can tweet us at Del Shores, or you can send your hate tweets to me at Actually Emerson.
And you can advertise with us.
Absolutely. We are looking
Keep
for
us
more
on the air.
sponsors. We've been incredibly grateful to Equality Vodka, who are continuing on this journey with us, and we are happy to welcome other people to help us continue to present this show to you. Stick around. Up next on Air with 20 Sweet, and after that, The Ann Walker Show.
We'll see you next week.
Bye, y'all.
Welcome to the new sound